Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala.
And start with the bling. Can you tell a little bit about your background, just related to this subject? About, of course, most of us maybe know, but not everybody. So just a little introduction about your background, and then we can.
My background, just very briefly, I first came across the poetry of Rumi when I was about 15 years old. And so I became interested in these matters. Then shortly after that, I became aware of the classical Advaita Vedanta teaching when I was about 16. When I was 17, I learnt mantra meditation in that tradition. I also, around that time, started practicing Gurdjieff's movements, and I learnt the Sufi turning, which was a movement practice. Some of you may be familiar, that was started by Rumi in the 13th century. I then spent 20 or so years in this classical tradition of Advaita Vedanta, practicing and studying. I then later came in contact with the direct path. All this time I was reading and studying Ramana Maharshi, Nisargadatta, and then later on in my mid-30s, I became aware of the direct path. I was introduced to the teachings of Atmananda Krishna Menon, and 15 or so years later, now I'm about 50, which was 12 years ago, I started writing about these matters and speaking of them, holding retreats. And so that's a very brief bio.
Yeah, very nice, thank you. I'm not sure now, did you get or receive these questions we had sent to you through Ruth?
Yes, I did. I'm very happy to discuss them. I don't prepare for these conversations. I like just to be spontaneous. So I haven't. Ruth sent me a couple of questions, but I haven't. I haven't considered them. I thought we would just be spontaneous. You can ask me about that or about anything else. And
well, let's start from the person who asked those questions or sent them originally is here also, Jukka. If you can ask or form it any way you want to, and just let's start from those topics and then continue with questions and answers. Okay, Jukka, go ahead.
Yes, I'm very happy and honored to meet you face to face.
Likewise.
You have been like a medicine for me. Two blocks in my ears, and I've been listening your YouTube videos a lot. And this is a very funny situation because I wrote those questions 2 weeks ago, and 1 week ago I started to find out that my thoughts, they don't seems to be my thoughts. They are like something I have had many occasions or many days that I've been wondering that whose thoughts they really are. Now I see that I don't feel that thinking in my head anymore is mine, or I somehow it's like old memories and then old learned habits, and they seems to rise up as their own. And this is somehow this is very interesting, a little bit scary situation, but nevertheless, I will read my questions because they still are. There are some things I want to know. So Carl Gustav Jung and Sigmund Freud pioneered the systematic exploration of the depth of human psyche. They defined the concept of unconscious and the first time in Western science. It seems strongly that actual wisdom is crystallized from the studies of ancient belief systems, such as Kabbalah, Gnosticism, and Advaita Vedanta. Advaita Vedanta does not consider trauma work to play a significant role, but focuses more to introversion and internal research. However, the Western world is traumatized to a great extent. So the question that worries me is how we would, the no-two doctrine makes it possible to give help to the traumatic people. If you can give some ideas of this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it Yuka?
Yeah, Yuka is my name.
Yuka.
Yeah.
Yuka. The no-two doctrine does not help traumatized people. Indeed, the no-two, the non-dual doctrine, it doesn't help anyone. What helps people is the recognition of their true nature. A doctrine is not helpful. Yes, of course, if a doctrine leads to the recognition of our true nature, then it serves a purpose. But the doctrine by itself is not helpful. What is helpful for trauma, or indeed any suffering, whether it comes from deep trauma or whatever its source, what is helpful ultimately in the relief of suffering, and by suffering I mean psychological or emotional suffering, I'm not referring to physical pain. What is helpful to relieve sorrow, suffering, is the recognition of who we essentially are.
Okay, thank you. The second question is that Peter Kingsley ultimately concludes in his book, Reality, that we in the West have failed in our divine task. Kingsley explains also that because we have historically misinterpreted and misunderstood
Parmenides.
Yes, it's difficult to pronounce. Intent, meaning, we ended up conjuring up reason out of what was meant to be true logic. Can you describe how we would understand Parmenides by using the Advaita Vedanta understanding?
Parmenides suggested that being is unchanging and eternal. And if we make a deep exploration of being, if we do the research on being ourself, we come to the same conclusion. Being is unchanging and eternal, or ever-present. By eternal, he didn't mean everlasting in time. He meant ever-present now. And it is unchanging in the sense that it is not modified by the content of experience. It is not enhanced or diminished by experience. It is complete, whole, full. And therefore its nature is peace or joy. That this completion, this wholeness, this fullness is what we experience as human beings as peace and happiness. And it is easy to reach this conclusion for ourselves just by researching the nature of our own being. So in this respect, Parmenides' understanding and the essence of the non-dual, the perennial non-dual philosophy are the same. But it's not important what Parmenides said. It's not important what the non-dual tradition says. What is important is our knowledge of ourself. That is what liberates. That is what brings peace.
Okay, thank you. I'm very happy with this.
Thank you, Joka.
Jaana, please ask.
Thank you very much. It's amazing to be here. I just finished teaching, so sorry I'm a bit late. And my question is kind of a practical one, and it's to do with my life and me as a teacher. I have a very busy job. And
What do you teach, Gianna?
I teach English to immigrants. Mainly.
Okay, good. Yeah.
And it seems that I'm always thinking about them. They have various issues and problems. Most of them are refugees, so I think about their backgrounds and their hard experiences, and I plan the lessons, and this goes on in my head quite a lot. And I listen to your satsangs, I come to the Zoom meetings, but even then I find I am multitasking. On one hand, I'm listening to the teachings, and at the same time, I'm thinking what's happening tomorrow. And it seems that this busyness, I sometimes feel sorry for myself because I am too busy. I have too many things to do. And then I'm thinking, where am I? Am I missing out on something? What about abiding in myself? Can I do this as I teach? Or I don't seem to have enough time to do the meditations. And maybe I'm confused in general as to how to live my, let's say, busy teaching life from the right place of self-abidance, and not so much the mental.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gianna, the way you describe it, you imply that meditation is an activity that you do with your mind that competes for time with all the other activities you do in your life, teaching, everything. So you have numerous activities in your life, of which one is meditation. This is, and by the sounds of it, your meditation practice always gets squeezed out, and it's the last thing you have time for. So I would suggest that this is a misunderstanding of what meditation is. If indeed meditation were an activity, if indeed meditation were an activity that you did with your mind, then it would indeed have to compete with all your other very legitimate activities. Meditation is not something we do. It is what we are. It is present 24/7. It does not need to be maintained or practiced. Like now you're thinking, I'm listening to a conversation. When you're teaching, you think, I am teaching. When you're preparing for your teaching, you think, I am thinking. When you're having a shower in the morning, you think, I'm having a shower. Then I am having breakfast. Then I'm traveling to work. Then I'm dealing with the children. Then I'm answering email. All the time, I am ... I am ... I am listening to this. I am thinking of that. I am feeling. Always the same I am. Qualified by an activity, a feeling, a relationship, but always the same I am. So what normally happens is that we neglect the I am in favor of the experience that qualifies it. So when we feel I am upset, all our attention goes to the upset and we neglect the I am. When we are teaching, we say, I am teaching. All the emphasis goes to the teaching. We overlook the I am. Now we think, I'm listening to a conversation. All our attention goes to the conversation. we neglect the I am. The I am is not absent. It does not need to be found. It does not need to be practiced. It does not need to be generated. It is there shining in the midst of our experience. To suggest that the I am is not present, it's like suggesting that the screen on which you are seeing my face is not present. If you're so absorbed in the image of my face, you'll think, oh, I'm not seeing the screen. Of course you're seeing the screen. My face is just a coloring of the screen. All you're seeing is the screen. All experience is a coloring of the I am, but we're so absorbed in the content of experience that we overlook the I am and then think, oh, I need to develop some meditation practice. I need to find some teacher. I need to, etc., in order to generate the I am. No, the I am is shining in all experience. Just notice it. That's meditation. It's not something we do. It's what we are. The I am is what we are. Everything else is what we do. So there's no question of meditation competing with the rest of your life for time. Consider that you're meditating 24/7 because you are yourself 24/7. I am deeply asleep. I am dreaming. I am having breakfast. I am teaching. I am. Just emphasize the I am. Carry on teaching. You can teach 14 hours a day if you want to. It doesn't make any difference at all. You can be as busy as you like. You can think as much as you like. It doesn't matter because it's always the I am there that is shining in the midst of your thinking. It won't help you if you stop thinking or if you teach less or if you go and live in a Himalayan cave or if you go and visit a teacher or you sit on your... It won't help you. The I am doesn't suddenly become more present when you're sitting on your cushion than when you're walking down the street. No, just do whatever your life... Just lead your life in whatever way it is unfolding. But emphasize the I am. Don't allow your experience to obscure your being. That's it. That's meditation.
Wow, thank you. In a way, it makes the I am a very, very mundane thing. There is nothing.
You're right, Gianna. It's mundane. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. But you're right, you're spot on. The I am is mundane in the sense that it's completely ordinary and intimate and familiar. There's nothing mystical about it. There's nothing spiritual about it. There's nothing extraordinary about it. On the contrary, it's the most ordinary, it's not really an experience, but you understand, it's the most ordinary, familiar, intimate, obvious experience there is. Yes, it's mundane. It's nothing exotic. Your being, we're just talking about your being. It's less exotic than the taste of tea. It's so ordinary. It's so close that we miss it. We don't miss it because it's absent. We miss it because it's too close, not because it is so far. We've just overlooked it. We've just failed to notice it. Just like one who is absorbed in the content of a movie overlooks the screen.
Yes. Maybe one more, if I may, to do with
Yes,
this.
of course.
So what I've been also thinking or feeling the Satchit Ananda aspect, that when one is in the isness and self-abiding, then the natural outcome is the feeling of bliss, of happiness.
Okay.
That it comes naturally, and I've been missing this. I wish this came automatically, but it's not. Sometimes it's there, but not always.
Okay. And I don't want to give you a rational answer because that won't help you. I want to give you an experiential answer. So Sat, Chit, Ananda, it's the essence of the Vedantic teaching. Sat means being, Chit means awareness, and Ananda is wrongly translated as bliss, because bliss to us Westerners suggests some extraordinary, exotic, marvelous experience. No, it means peace, just peace, quiet joy. So Sat Chit Ananda, it just means the knowing of our own being as it essentially is peace. Now, Yana, is it Yana?
Yana.
Yana, tell us about your being now. Are you having the experience of simply being?
Right now, calm, not much
No,
things.
no, about your being. Do you have the experience now, I am?
Yes,
You can say of your experience, I am.
yes.
Is there anybody in the world, take all the 8 billion people in the world, and I were to ask them the same question, are you now having the experience, I am? Would anybody answer no to that question? Legitimately, could anybody legitimately answer no to that question?
Maybe
It's,
only bit, but not. the
it's
way.
everybody has the experience of simply being. I am.
Mm.
Yeah. Now, tell us about that experience. The experience of simply being. How would you describe it? So far, there is the knowing of being. I know that I am. Tell us about the experience.
I feel that there is a trick there, because always when I think of me, I look outside and
Yeah,
I think
okay,
of
but you know you know that I'm not asking you about
yes,
the outside.
but
I'm
only
asking you,
go here. It's very difficult to say anything about it.
tell me why. You're quite right. Why is it difficult to say something about it?
Because it's colorless, tasteless, and
Perfect. Instead of saying you're quite right, and in fact, it is more accurate to say what it is not. It's colorless, it's tasteless. But if you were to assert that in the affirmative, in other words, if you were to say what it is rather than what it isn't, do your best with words. What would you say? How would you say in common parlance, it is colorless, it is tasteless?
I would use the words calm and peace.
That's it. The knowledge of my being is peace. That's it. Sat, Chit, Ananda.
But
The
not
knowing.
not the amazing experience, but rather
But it's a misinterpretation. It's not. Ananda doesn't mean an amazing experience of bliss.
Yes.
It just means peace,
yes.
absence of the sense of lack, fulfillment.
So it's a great misconception to think of enlightenment as some sort of big event.
Enlightenment. This is. You're right. It is such a misconception. Enlightenment is simply the recognition of the nature of our being. Our being is the most intimate, the most familiar, the most ordinary, the most obvious experience there is. We simply overlook it because the content of our experience, thoughts, sensations, perceptions, is so colorful that we are attracted to it and we overlook this quiet background of peace. Enlightenment is just an exotic, misleading term that is used traditionally to denote the recognition of the nature of our being. There is nothing exotic or extraordinary about it.
Good.
The cultures that many of us in the West went to in order to find out about enlightenment, namely India, Tibet, China, these cultures are indeed exotic. So the packaging of this understanding is indeed exotic. Exotic clothes, exotic practices, exotic words, etc. But what is being referred to is not exotic. We have mistaken the exotic nature of these cultures for the exotic nature of our being. There's nothing exotic or extraordinary about the recognition of our being. It's quite the opposite. Intimate, ordinary, obvious, familiar. It's what you mean when you say mundane. You obviously don't mean that in a derogatory sense. You just mean it's ordinary, simple, close. So you can go back into your life, teach all, if you're passionate about teaching, teach all day long. You can lead a full, active life. Somebody else may lead a quiet, reclusive, retiring life. But the I am is not more present in one than the other. The I am shines in the midst of all experience. Even when we say, I am depressed, it's like a black image on the screen. Does the screen shine less brightly when it is colored black than when it is colored white? No, the screen shines equally brightly in both images. The I am shines equally brightly in all experience.
Johanna, did you have something here? Did I see her raise your hand?
Yes, hello.
Johanna, hello.
I think, yes, hello, everybody. I hope this is closely enough related to what we just heard about content. Like self-realized person, for such a person, the content, if there is content, I mean, is content only present there only when there is attachment to it?
No.
Content is it is a create natural creation, and it
by the content of experience, I mean thoughts, images, memories, feelings, sensations, perceptions. When Ramana Maharshi was walking round his mountain, do you think that he was not experiencing perceptions? Of course he was. He was seeing the mountain. When he was eating his breakfast, do you think that he was not experiencing sensations? Of course he was. He was tasting his food. When he was reading a manuscript that somebody brought to him, do you think that he was not having thoughts? Of course he was. So all of that is content. It's got, whether you're attached to the content is nothing to do with whether the content is present or not.
correct. Yes, thank you. Yes. The potential analyzing or thinking about the past might happen. And that is like
yes,
attachment. And that is the
no,
mala.
no,
That is
it is not. No,
because I
it
am
is
so
not.
concerned that it's like a dirt of the mind.
Analyzing the
activity.
analyzing the past is not attachment to the past. They're two completely different things. It is appropriate sometimes to analyze the past. I'm quite sure that Ramana Maharshi analyzed the past when he was organizing the building of his ashram, when he was managing the putting up buildings. He would have referred to his past knowledge of building to enable him to make decisions about where to put the wall, how thick it should be, what to make it out of. So there is nothing about analyzing the past that implies attachment to it or ignorance.
Correct. Again, I have a feeling that this list of mine, there would be like other examples but the main, I got it, of course, so that it doesn't matter whether the mental activity is towards past or future or whatever. It's
not
I
whether
am a little
the
concerned that, yeah, it's that this habitual charging of any mental activity, maybe that's it. So I just, okay, sorry.
It's not whether or not the mental activity contains a thought about the past or the future that is important. Ramana Maharshi undoubtedly thought about the past and the future. What is important is whether the thinking contains a separate self or ego at its heart. That is the important thing. Whether it refers to the past or future is not important, and indeed not a sign of ignorance.
Right. Yeah. Can I continue?
Of course.
I think you said at least you said direct path, but did you also say pathless path? I don't have a proper question, but I would like to somehow you to
Yes.
perhaps elaborate on this pathless path.
Okay, the direct path is the highest path of the individual. The path of surrender or the direct path equally are the highest. It's the same path, the highest path of the individual. That is, it's the highest path that one who considers themselves an individual can take. Why do I say this? Because it is the path in which the apparent individual goes directly to their true nature. Now, the pathless path is an even higher path than the direct path, because it does not make any concession to the belief that we are an individual. The direct path makes a concession to the belief that we are an individual, and it says to that individual, investigate your true nature, ask yourself who you really are, ask yourself what is it that is aware of your experience. So even the direct path makes a concession to the belief that we are an individual. The pathless path makes no such concession.
Yes.
It starts with the reality, namely the one infinite being, and it stays there. So
yes,
there is no
there's
path.
no fluctuation, there's no transformation, there's no
There is
change.
there is no individual present to
Yes.
take a path.
Yes, exactly. Pathless path. Yes, yes. Thank you. Maybe this the first one, direct path, is like a sahaja samadhi.
No, sahaja samadhi is the
Natural.
is the condition in which experience has lost its capacity to veil its reality. In other words, it is the condition in which all experience, the apparent multiplicity and diversity of objects and selves, no longer veils its reality, but shines with its infinite reality. That is sahaja samadhi. Nirvikalpa samadhi is one step down from there, where the multiplicity and diversity of experience still seems to veil its reality, and as a result, we have to turn away from experience in order to recognize the nature of reality. So in Nirvikalpa samadhi, we turn away from the content of experience. We go back to our true nature. In sahaja samadhi, our true nature, the one reality, is seen shining not just behind experience, not just in the midst of experience, but as experience itself.
Yes.
There was one.
Thank you. Thank you.
There's one question in the chat. I just didn't read it properly. Just a second. There's about Advaita can be made an experience, but then made a good start. However, instead of going deep into the implication of that question, one person here asked the usual weak Advaita stance of Sristi instead of the much stronger stance of Dristi, according to which this is all a dream and therefore appears only in the view of the dreamer. And hence, this person finally had to yield to Harris with regard to the example that the half hour he spent in anesthesia, if he had insisted that we have no evidence that our present state is anything other than a dream, there would have been no need for him to yield to Harris in such a way. So I don't really know what's the actual question here, but
it's all right. I get the
okay.
I get the gist of it. So if we believe that the world only exists as an appearance in our own mind, which is what the questioner, I think, suggested, then we must also agree that everybody else only appears as an appearance in our own, only exists as an appearance in our own mind. So let's just say I believe that all there is to the world is an appearance of my own mind, in my own mind. That means that all there is to all of you must also be just an appearance in my mind. So sorry, guys, none of you are having your own internal experience. None of you are having thoughts or feelings. None of you are perceiving a world. Why? Because you just exist in my mind. You're just images in my mind. It's called solipsism. This is what is implied by the belief the world is just an appearance in our individual mind. If we believe that, we must be consistent. We must agree that not only the world, but everything in the world, that's all of you, also appear as just in my own mind. This is often confused with Advaita Vedanta. People often think that this is what the Advaita teaching is saying. It is not. The Advaita teaching says that the world is an appearance in consciousness, not in a finite mind. The world is an appearance in and of infinite consciousness, that it exists in consciousness, that it is ultimately made of consciousness. But consciousness in this context is something infinitely larger than each of our finite minds. In fact, each of our finite minds would be localizations of infinite consciousness, within infinite consciousness, through whose perspective or from whose point of view consciousness views its own activity as the outside world. So the Advaita teaching says that the world is an appearance in consciousness, not in the finite mind. It's true that the finite mind filters the world through its own limitations, just as somebody who's wearing orange-tinted glasses will filter the white snow, and the white snow will appear in accordance with the limitations of the glasses through which we see it. In other words, the snow will appear orange. But the orange color, the orange snow is partly a result of the medium through which we look, the glasses, and partly a result of the snow, which has got nothing to do with the glasses. Well, our minds are like a pair of glasses that filter reality and make reality appear in a way that is consistent with their own limitations. So what we see when we look at the world is partly its reality, which is independent of the finite mind, and partly the limitations of the finite mind through which we perceive it. That's why William Wordsworth said the world is half created, half perceived. Its reality is perceived, its appearance is created by the finite mind.
Great. Does anybody else have questions here? Please go. Jukka, go, please.
So as I mentioned in the beginning, that I have had this feeling for almost 1 week, that I don't feel anymore to being me. What is happening to me? Because this is an odd feeling. I used to be me, but now I think that the me is like some kind of false collection of information.
So, Jukka, you say, I don't feel that I am me. So here we have I and me. I don't feel that I am me. Okay, take the me away. You don't think you're me. But tell us about the I that doesn't feel that you are me. Tell us about that I.
It's difficult to describe.
But it's what you call I. Isn't I what you are?
Somehow it is, yes. At least it feels like.
But yeah, you say, I don't feel that I am me. I must be present to have the feeling I am not me. The I must be present.
My feeling is like they are like a layered that there's some kind of learned habits and.
Yes, but what is it that is aware of all those learned habits?
I don't know. I would say that it's some kind of self. It's deep in me, in myself, which I can't describe. Which
but it's you.
Happiness.
It's you.
I even saw with my hands. Yes.
It's you. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's some kind of I feel that there is some kind of localized information in me.
Yeah. Okay, there may be localized information, so that's the content of your experience, thoughts, feelings, and so on. But you, the real you, is not part of the content. It's the one that is aware of it.
And it seems that it does not understand dualistic thinking at all. There is some kind of Grand Canyon between my thinking and myself or I, as you describe it. They seems to be separate, and this has been this week's or 1 week's experience of being, or at least most probably it's my thinking.
If I understand what you're saying is that the me that you normally consider to be yourself is constructed out of thoughts, feelings, memories, and so on. So you're right that me is not really there. It's a constructed image, belief, feeling. Well, that's not the real you. But there is a real you that is that one that is, in other words, I am, and two, that knows or is aware. In other words, I am aware. Jukka, describe, would you agree now that you are aware of your experience?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Now, describe as best you can that which is aware of your experience.
That's a hard one.
It's hard, but do your best. You agree that you are aware of your experience.
It's something which is very difficult to describe.
Yes, it is difficult. You're right. Ultimately, it's impossible to describe, but do your best.
It's a warm, peaceful feeling.
Warm and peaceful. Yes. Okay.
But no, not maybe not feeling it.
No, I understand. I understand.
Yeah.
I understand what you mean. Good. Keep going.
It never changes. It looks like it has been there all the time.
Perfect.
And there is also a local. There is a center in that one, which
no. Now you're everything you've said up to now is good, but now you're beginning to tell us about the content of your experience, what you are aware of.
But it looks like it doesn't moving. That the outer
Perfect.
world is moving around.
Perfect.
That.
It doesn't move. Yes, it's still. What else?
That's quite a lot.
It's true. It's warm. It's peaceful. It's always present. It's unchanging, and it's still. Yes, that is yourself. That's perfect. That is yourself.
And sometimes it looks like that it's shining true to me because I feel somehow the presence of that one.
Of course, because that when you say I feel the presence of that one, and I understand it's what you mean. What you really mean is that one feels its own presence. In other words, that one is aware of itself. Its presence is not known by dukkha. It's not, there is the presence of awareness that is sometimes known by dukkha. No, it is awareness that is aware of itself. In fact, awareness is always aware of itself. It is self-luminous or self-aware, just as the sun is always illuminating itself. So awareness is always knowing itself. But its knowledge, awareness is awareness of other things, thoughts, feelings, sensations, and so on, veils its awareness of itself. So although it is always aware of itself, its awareness of itself is veiled. So it seems to forget itself in favor of the content of experience, thoughts, images, feelings, and so on. Now that is why the path starts with this turning away from the content of experience, coming back to ourself. Awareness ceases to lose itself in the content of experience. It comes back to itself, the simple awareness of being.
It's like a reflection back. Sometimes.
It's not a reflection. The sun doesn't illuminate itself by reflecting its light off the moon. It illuminates itself directly. Awareness's knowledge of itself is not reflected off the finite mind. It knows itself directly.
In that case, is my mind so clever that it makes this feeling that yes, that reflection is let's say something unique.
And that's just your mind appropriating awareness's knowledge of itself.
Okay.
Let me give you an example. Some of you, if not all of you, are probably familiar with my analogy of the actor John Smith, who plays the part of King Lear.
Mm-hmm.
So before John Smith plays the part of King Lear, he has the experience, I am John Smith, I am myself. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he goes to his theatre, he starts playing the part of King Lear, he puts on King Lear's clothes, he puts on King Lear's thoughts and actions, and he still has the feeling, I am myself. But when he says, I am myself, what he feels is, I am King Lear. So what he feels is, I, King Lear, am having the experience of being myself. King Lear feels, I am myself. I am the father of 3 daughters. I'm the king of England. I'm at war with France. Now, King Lear's knowledge of himself is really John Smith's limited knowledge of himself, because there is no character, there is no person called King Lear to have the experience, I am King Lear. It is John Smith who has the experience, I am King Lear. And the experience, I am King Lear, is really John Smith's experience, I am limited. Now, in order to rectify this process, King Lear's friend says to him, investigate your true nature. King Lear starts traveling back through the layers of his experience. And at some stage, there is the recognition, I am John Smith. Now, who has the experience, I am John Smith? Does King Lear have that experience? No. John Smith has that experience. Now, when your mind says, awareness's knowledge of itself is a reflection in my mind, that is like saying, King Lear has the experience, I am John Smith. No. Only John Smith can have the experience, I am John Smith. Only awareness can have the experience, I am awareness. So awareness is known by itself. It is not known through the finite mind.
Yeah, thank you.
So the knowledge, I am awareness, or simply the knowledge I am, the ordinary knowledge I am, is a unique knowledge. It's the only knowledge or experience there is which is not filtered through the finite mind. It is direct knowledge. It is absolute knowledge. It is awareness's knowledge of itself. All other knowledge and experience, thoughts, perceptions, feelings, all of these take place through the finite mind. But awareness's knowledge of itself is unique.
Yes, it seems to be, because sometimes it's totally empty.
It's always totally empty, yeah.
Okay. So I'm traveling between different states of my mind, and then somehow I can reach in some point the I am feeling, or the I am.
You don't have to reach it.
Yes.
It's what you are.
Yeah.
If I were to say to you now, stand up and take a step towards your body, where would you go to reach your body?
Yeah, that would be impossible. Yeah.
It's impossible. Why? Because you can never get there? No, because you're already there. So yourself is not something you can reach. It's what you already are. But because we lose ourselves in the content of experience, because John Smith loses himself in the part King Lear, he feels, I am no longer John Smith. And then King Lear travels all the way around the world looking for gurus and practices, and what's he looking for? He's looking for John Smith. He's traveling around the world looking for John Smith, trying to reach John Smith. He is John Smith.
Yeah. Thank you. I think I understand. It's like my mind is full of concepts, and it looks like that the concepts sometimes they mess around and then they take their own life. If I describe it from
Yes, Jukka, there's just there's still I don't think it will last for very long in you, but there is still this belief, and it's very common on the spiritual path. There's still this belief that you're looking for some kind of extraordinary enlightened experience that your mind will know. I think it's nearly gone in you, this belief, but there's still a remnant of it, that your mind is going to find something. No, it's not.
It's more or less upside down. It's like that the let's say the suffering sometimes appears from I don't know where it comes from.
It's just an old conditioning. You're like King Lear, that has almost given up looking for John Smith in the world, but there's still a remnant of a belief. If I just go to one more teacher, just go to one more meeting, just meditate a little bit, I might find John Smith one day.
Yeah. And there is no John Smith.
No, there is.
There is.
You are John Smith.
I'm Yuka.
No, yeah, but Yuka is just one of the many names of infinite consciousness.
You understand the analogy, yeah. You need to struggle a little bit with the...
If imagine you are King Lear, say to yourself, I am King Lear.
I am King Lear, yes.
Now, one by one, you remove King Lear's thoughts, you remove King Lear's feelings, you remove King Lear's activities, you remove King Lear's relationships, you remove King Lear's history, you remove everything apart from the pure experience I am. Now, who does the pure experience I am refer to?
Smith.
John Smith. King Lear is just John Smith plus thoughts, feelings, activities, and relationships. So John Smith is an amalgam, King Lear is an amalgam of John Smith plus thoughts, feelings, activities, and relationships. You remove all the, if King Lear removes all his thoughts, his feelings, his activities, and relationships, just leaves the I am. That is John Smith. He doesn't become that. He doesn't find that. It's not an extraordinary experience. It's just a recognition of the nature of his being before it is qualified by experience. So you are King Lear. Just remove, you don't even need to remove them. Just let go of your thoughts, your feelings, your history, your memories, your activities, and your relationship until the pure I am remains. That's it. That is infinite consciousness. That's God's being. You don't become it. You just notice, oh, why didn't I see that before? It's what I always am. And then you stabilize, you live as that one.
Yeah, that feels quite familiar, but there is still the but, yeah, as you mentioned, yeah. Hopefully I will come soon.
That's it. You just the but. Yeah. The but is just that little bit of King Lear's belief that remains, but I don't think it will stay for long. Joka, nice to talk with you.
I will wash it.
Great,
very good.
Great, thanks. Good questions. Jana has one question. Go ahead, Jana.
Thank you so much for the second opportunity. I started driving already and I had to stop because listening to this extraordinary conversation, and I really had to stop because I had this crazy feeling. I wanted to maybe ask Rupert, because for about 28 years I have been searching, and I've gone to so many gurus, organizations, cults, places, read so many books and heard so many lectures, and now I'm thinking, what has that been all for? For such a long time I have put so much effort and money and time to try to find that from outside, which now seems like it is absolutely always there, and I cannot.
Jana, you're right, but don't be discouraged. The time and the money and the effort have not been wasted, because they've brought you to this understanding. Many people spend their whole lives seeking for this and still don't recognize. So don't worry. You're all the time, the money and the effort have brought you to this understanding. But now that you have arrived at this understanding, don't go on spending your time, effort and money seeking. It's like King Lear's been traveling around the world for 28 years and he's looking for John Smith, and he's finally realized, I already am John Smith. What's going to happen to his habit of traveling around the world? It's going to come to an end. He stops traveling. He stays home. So that's like you've realized what I was seeking all along was the being that I eternally am. So stop traveling, stop going to teachers and the other side of the world, and you're searching for your being.
This is so amazing. And now, of course, what's happening is so many of my friends still go, and I go because I play bhajans with them. And recently I have felt a little bit strange going to the satsangs and places, because I'm going there for habit and I enjoy and I like the music, I like my friends, but at the same time something is not quite.
But Jana, that is, I'm glad you said that. That is a good reason for going. Okay. Because the purpose of these kinds of meetings is not just to recognize your true nature. It is to, first of all, recognize our being, the nature of our being, and then to share that recognition and celebrate that recognition with other people. So it's fine to keep going to these meetings, but not because you are in search of something, simply because you love to share your being with your friends, singing bhajans or whatever it is that you do. So I don't mean that you shouldn't go to these. It's fine to go, but you no longer go in search of being. On the contrary, you bring your being with its peace, with its joy. You bring it and you share that and you celebrate it, singing bhajans or whatever.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Somebody wrote here in the chat, Stacy, that she doesn't feel peace. She finds anxiety like ants under her skin, or like something eternally, an empty railway station filled with brown fog. Just an observation, she wrote. But and I also can agree that there's so much talk about these peace and paths and methods and meditations and all kinds of retreats and stuff, but only the actual knowledge who we are really, like you said so many times, Rupert, brings us to this realization who we are and ends this King Lear traveling and searching. But of course we can ask, what really brings us to this crossroad that we suddenly are consciously conscious or aware that of our own awareness? It's like some kind of a blindness, it seems, that we just even though because theory doesn't help, we understand, it's easy to understand this theoretically, but in practice we keep on going outward, forgetting ourselves among all other interests. And it's so easy to forget one's simple existence and reality in this sense. So of course we all know these situations that when life brings us troubles, sorrows, death, sickness, illness, and so forth, that stops us for a minute. But as soon as that's over and we win the lotto or something like that, everything is forgotten and we're still anxious to achieve something from the world, believing that it will give us this peace and happiness. And in this moment, I just remembered this Christ teachings that go in peace. I will give you peace. And for me nowadays, this I will give you peace means our own self is the only peace we can really have.
That's very true. Yeah.
And but it really takes this long path for most of us, this King Lear traveling, until we finally realize that there's nothing to find anywhere.
Some people, most of us, need to go out into the world seeking peace and fulfillment again and again and again and again and again before we begin to suspect that peace and happiness cannot be acquired through objective experience, objects, substances, activities, relationships, and so on. And eventually our seeking for happiness in the world, it begins to wind down. And at some point we may come across a teaching that begins to reorientate our search for peace towards ourselves. But for other people, just one or two experiences of suffering are enough. In theory, one experience, one failed relationship should be enough. We fall madly in love when we're 18 years old. We think this person is going to be the source of happiness for the rest of your life, and 2 years later they dump you. And then you realize, oh, the person, the object that I invested my happiness in has just disappeared overnight. That, in theory, should be enough to make us suspect, to make us doubt that happiness can ever be delivered by an activity or a person. But most of us need to have some such experience several times before we begin to get the message. But some people get it early on in their life. They don't need to spend 40 years seeking in the world, being frustrated. They realize early in their lives the only place where lasting peace can be found is in my own being. But we each have to go on whatever path is necessary to bring us to this understanding. It varies from person to person.
Yeah, it's a sort of ripeness also. That
yes.
I think we maybe have to have these disappointments to the world and before we start even thinking about
most of us, yes. Occasionally someone just has this intuition from very early on in life and they never really invest their happiness in objective experience, but it's unusual.
Truly, yes. Quite rare.
It's quite rare, yes.
You have a question? Okay, go ahead.
I would like to ask, could you please clarify for me? As you said that, because maybe I didn't understand you correctly, that the world is not a creation of our mind, but it is creation, let's say, it appears in consciousness, right? So I mean that, and you said something, maybe I didn't again get you correctly. You said something like we have filters. Our mind has filters, and we perceive reality of the world through our filters. So this reality, again, I'm just trying to repeat what you said, but maybe I'm not correct. So, and these filters, they like distort this reality, and we perceive already not real reality, but I mean, distorted by our filters.
Okay. What you said is almost what I said. The only thing I didn't imply was that our mind, you're right, our mind is like a filter, like a pair of glasses that consciousness puts on. It doesn't distort the world. It just represents the reality of the world. What is the reality of the world? The activity of consciousness. It doesn't distort it. It simply makes it appear in a way that is consistent with the limitations of our mind. When you put on orange tinted glasses, your glasses don't distort the snow, but they do impose a limitation on the snow, and it makes the glasses make the snow appear in a way that is consistent with their own limitations. But otherwise, you are correct, yes.
So it means that beyond the mind, there is some real world.
Yes. Yes, there's more to the world than your finite mind.
Mind is finite,
Your
And,
mind is finite, thoughts, feelings, limited. Your mind is limited, yes.
But it seems that world is not finite.
The reality of the world is not finite. It is infinite consciousness or infinite being. Its appearance, that is the way it appears to a finite mind, is temporary.
But we can say also that our mind is also a reality of our mind is also infinite.
Absolutely right. Yes. In the ultimate analysis, just as there are no independently existing objects out there, independently existing objects are just how the reality of the world appears to us. Likewise, there are no independently existing minds in here. Each mind is just a temporary localization of the one infinite reality.
In my understanding, how I understood, for example, Shramana's teaching, the world is a creation of our mind. Because
its appearance is a creation of our mind. Its reality is not created by the finite mind. Its appearance is created by the finite mind.
Maybe it is a little bit difficult, to put it like this, because that the thing is that when we go into deep sleep, for example, everything stops and we are the source. That when we appear as ego from deep sleep, after this, everything else appears, whatever we call it.
That's right.
Yes.
Your mind appears, emerges out of deep sleep, and with it, the appearance of the world. So the ego and the appearance of the world arise together and they subside together. When you fall deeply asleep, thinking and perceiving cease, that is, your finite mind ceases, the appearance of the world ceases. What remains? Infinite being. The mind arises again, that is, thinking and perceiving, the appearance of the world arises with it. So yes, the finite mind and the appearance of the world rise together and subside together. What do they subside in? What do they emerge from? The one reality.
Exactly. But this appearance absolutely depends on our mind.
Yeah, the appearance, yes. The reality, no.
We are now, the thing is that our problem is not reality. Our problem is appearance. We deal always with appearance, not with reality. When we have problems, right? We like you said also.
Yes, that's true. All our problems relate to the appearance, yes.
Yes, like you said before that when we invest our happiness in some object, right? And looking for happiness from this object, and then we fail. And it means that our problem is this object, it is appearance, and it appears in our own mind.
It's not the appearance by itself that is problematic. It is our investment of happiness in the object that is problematic.
Absolutely, but without appearance, where is our investment?
There is none, but that doesn't imply that the appearance of an object necessarily is consistent with our investment of happiness in it.
No.
Ramana Maharshi experienced the appearance of objects, but he did not invest his happiness in them.
Absolutely, but we are not talking now. We are not our Ramana Maharshis. We are now.
Why not?
Yes.
Why not?
No, in ultimately yes, but
No. Ramana Maharshi is just a name for our being. You are Ramana Maharshi now.
Absolutely, a name for our being, yes. But we now are dealing with objects. We are dealing with
Ramana Maharshi, the person dealt with objects. It's not that objects are not problematic.
Problematic is our attitude to this object. This is
exactly.
Yes. So that when we talk about realities of the world, which actually depends completely. Appearance. completely depends on us. So the problem is us. That is why I mean that it would be better, in my opinion. I mean, to not, because when we talk about that, our we have some glasses that distort the appearance of the world. It is actually not, because we see the world exactly like we see it, and we deal with world exactly like with something that we see, only we can see. It's our problem completely. So I mean that such problem can be solved by investigating who is this something that who we are, who sees
Absolutely.
the world with all
Absolutely, yes.
yes. So I mean that there is what I want to say, that I would not attribute any reality to this world, any separate reality. It is absolutely our own reality, and world depends completely on us.
Use the word reality carefully. Let's use, otherwise we're going to get confused with language. Use the word reality to refer to what is real, to what the world really is, not what it appears to be. So there is the world, nothing has a separate reality.
Of course.
That there is just one reality, yes. And everything and everyone is an appearance of that one reality. We are that one reality. The world is that one reality.
But the problem appears when we appear as ego. This is the moment when problem appears.
Yes. The problem is not the appearances. In other words, it's not the fact of perceiving that creates a problem. Perceiving divides the one reality up into a multiplicity and diversity of objects and selves. There's no problem with that. The Buddha experienced an apparent multiplicity and diversity of objects and selves. So did Jesus, so did Lao Tzu, so did Ramana Maharshi. So the problem is not in the appearance of multiplicity, it is in the belief that each of those objects, and therefore each of these selves, has its own independent reality. And you're absolutely right. It's our belief that is problematic. It's not even the appearance that is problematic. It's our belief that that the appearance of things, that the things that appear to us have their own independent existence.
Yes. So yes. I mean that I would not separate at all the world from us. This is the thing.
You're right. Absolutely. The reality of the world is the reality of ourself. You're absolutely right.
Yes.
It only appears to be separate from the point of view of the one who believes that they are separate. But you're right. That is just a belief and an appearance. You're right. There's no real separation. Yes.
And all these problems appear in the very moment when we appear as ego. And
exactly.
When ego appears, the thing is that when you say that Ramana Maharshi perceives objects and we perceive objects, the difference is that Ramana Maharshi doesn't perceive objects. This is the, of course, we of course to be normal in this world and to express ourselves somehow that we can understand each other since we are here, right? So we have to say that Ramana Maharshi perceived the world, but Ramana Maharshi says, as long as you see the world, the problem exists. I mean, you should not see the world. You should not see yourself. That is why when he didn't have a problem, because he didn't see the world as separate from him.
But this is a matter of language now. When I say Ramana Maharshi saw the world, what I meant is if he was sitting in between you two now, he would be seeing pretty well exactly what you are seeing. Yes. Of course, he would know that it was not an outside world. So when I say Ramana Maharshi saw the world, I'm just using ordinary language. What I'm saying is Ramana Maharshi perceived the world. He had the same kind of perceptions that everybody else has. Of course, his interpretation of those perceptions was very different from most people's. Yes.
It absolutely can be seen from his behavior.
Yes, absolutely.
Like he actually treated everyone exactly.
Exactly.
I mean that he could put his leg into this horn's nest and they bite him just because he. I mean, he sees their anger like something that happens. I mean, in him. I mean that it's absolutely natural to him to be them. To understand what is going on. So I mean that it was not a problem for him to put his leg into nest's horn just because he saw it, and I mean I don't know how even to call it because he didn't see he just was.
There's a question, by the way, related to this. That's why I'm interrupting. Sorry, but there's a chat comment here that. Ramana said, it is only in our view that the jhani sees objects, meaning the realized sees object. But of course, like we just talked, that as long as we are seeing separateness and separate objects, that's the only way we can see things. It's impossible to, now we're talking about this ultimate reality point of view that we're trying to know before we know, or something like this. So it's as long as we feel that I'm individual and everything's separate from me, that's all we can say. But in the Ramana's point of view, there's no separation and no individuals. There's only the one reality, and that's it. But from our point of view, it's
so one who has this understanding doesn't believe that the multiplicity and diversity of objects that appear to us have their own reality. So in that sense, he or she doesn't see real separate objects. That's true. But such a one sees the appearance of multiplicity and diversity. They know that there are no real discrete independently existing objects or selves there, but they see the appearance of objects and selves. That's what I mean when I say Ramana Maharshi saw the world. Well, it was just a casual way of saying Ramana Maharshi sees the appearance of multiplicity and diversity, although of course it was recognized that the multiplicity and diversity is in the appearance, not in the reality. The reality is one.
There's Markus wants to ask, and then Johanna also. Markus. Go ahead.
Yeah, hello.
Hi, Markus.
So I was thinking about how when we perceive objects, let's say I'm like looking at this rock, for example, I have this sense, and I think people usually have this sense that they're here and the object is over there. And it seems that the non-dual understanding suggests that there is no distance, there is no over there, it's somehow the same space.
Yeah, if you were to remove the faculty of seeing from your experience now, what would happen to space? What would happen to your experience of space?
Well, there wouldn't be a sense of seeing, so it would just be there.
What would just be there?
Just
space?
Being itself.
Yeah, no, my question was, if you remove the experience of perceiving from space, what happens to space?
Well, nothing happens to it.
It disappears. In other words, can you be sure that space and indeed time are inherent in reality, or is it possible that time and space are what reality looks like when viewed through the faculties of thinking and perceiving? After all, when thinking and perceiving disappear, time and space disappear. When thinking and perceiving arise, time and space arise. Could it be that what we experience as time and space is just how the eternal, infinite reality appears from our limited, localized points of view.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting that time and space are not real. I'm just suggesting that they are not what they appear to be. In other words, they are an illusion, but all illusions have a reality to them. What is the reality of time? Eternity. What is the reality of space? Infinity.
So there is no over there, and there also is no then in time or in the past or in the
In reality, yes, exactly. When you have a dream at night, Marcus, and you dream that you travel across Europe or America, you take a journey, you travel to India, and you take a journey, and your journey is 5,000 miles long, and it takes you 5 months. So in your dream, your journey is 5,000 miles, and it takes 5 months. When you wake up, you ask yourself, how much time and space did my dream take up in my mind? How much space did your dream occupy in your mind? None.
Yeah, none.
How much time did it take? A moment. So what appeared to be time and space from the point of view of the character in the dream did not take any time or space in the dreamer's mind. Well, all of this seems to be contained in time and space from our limited points of view. But from the point of view of the one reality, infinite consciousness, there is no time or space.
But can it be what you said? Can that be recognized as a direct experience?
Absolutely.
While there still is the appearance of like diversity of this. Yeah.
Okay, close your eyes, Marcus. Imagine you're a newborn infant. This is the first experience you've ever had. The only reason for doing so is to remove your memory from you. You have no memory. You've just been born. You haven't opened your eyes yet. You have no idea that you have a body or that you are a body. You know nothing of the world. But you have the experience of being. You are aware of being. Now, do your best now to describe your experience, but do not refer to the past. This is the first experience you've ever had. Describe your experience as best you can. I know it's difficult, but just do your best with words.
I would say it's effortless.
No,
Yes.
because in order to say it's effortless, you are referring to something called effort. You haven't yet experienced effort, so you cannot use it to reference your current experience. So try again. Let me ask you a question, Marcus.
Yeah.
Keep your eyes closed. Your silent answer, by the way, is the best possible answer. Don't feel that you were failing. You were doing very well. Let me ask you two specific questions. You're a newborn infant, the first experience you've ever had. You are aware of being, but you have no past to refer to. Are you experiencing time?
No.
Are you experiencing space?
No.
Okay, there you are. That's the answer to your question. You asked me the question, can you, I suggested that reality was timeless and spaceless. You said, can we experience this in our direct experience? Well, there you are. You've just experienced it. In other words, to have the experience of the eternal, infinite reality, you can open your eyes now, is not some extraordinary, exotic experience. You can go there easily. It is yourself. It's not some exotic experience that Ramana Maharshi was referring to. It's just the nature of your being now. You can go there anytime.
And is it true to say that I am there always as well?
Absolutely. You are. It's not that you are there, it's that you are that. Yes, absolutely. It is only thinking and perceiving that make it seem that we are something other than that. Thinking and perceiving refract the one eternal, infinite reality and make it appear as a multiplicity and diversity of objects and selves. And with that, we should probably leave it. So it's been sweet to be with you all. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us. And I know there's a limited amount of time, so just watching the clock also myself. Thank you, Rupert, very much. And thank
Not
you
at all. It's a pleasure to be with you all. I wish you all the very best.
Yes,
thank you for your beautiful questions.
Great. Thank you very much, and all the best.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.